This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. This story was brought to our attention by our friend John Cass over at the Tribune a couple weeks back. It's the story of Dennis McCann, and it runs right into legislation that Governor Rauner is poised to sign on Monday, the so-called Trust Act, or which is how proponents of the legislation describe it, and opponents describe it as sanctuary state legislation. And we talk about the stories, the hard luck stories of children brought to this country illegally by their parents, the so-called dreamers, and otherwise people that come to this country illegally but are productive while here and peaceable.
Law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, peaceable while here. Well, they're not citizens, and by definition, they're not
sorry,
law-abiding
excuse me.
because they broke the law. But okay. But anyway, you get it. Somebody's coming here to strive for a better life. You get it. You understand it. You're empathetic to it. But we have to have these things called borders. We have to have this concept of the rule of law. But we talk about those cases. We need to talk about the cases, and President Trump spent a lot of time talking about them during the campaign. And since the victims, families who have been victimized by a person in this country illegally, a person that shouldn't be here. And that's a real thing, too. And it doesn't necessarily mean that immigration law is an easy thing to stitch together such that we're a welcoming nation to people that want to make a better life for themselves and thus make a better America. But we also properly and always weed out people who don't. Okay, nothing is fail-safe. But there's a difference between nothing being fail-safe and being blithely unwilling to enforce the law. And there are real consequences to the latter. And the case of Dennis McCann is one of them. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Brian McCann. Brian, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Dan and Amy.
So tell us the story of your brother, Dennis.
June 2011, he was going to visit a client of his. He was a commercial insurance broker in Logan Square about 7 o'clock at night. It was on a Wednesday night. Anyhow, he's crossing the street. This young man was a prior convicted felon, illegal alien, hit him, dragged him better part of a block, and my brother died a pretty unfortunate, violent death. A couple of good Samaritans, including an off-duty cop, apprehended this fella, and they bonded him at $250,000. And I don't know if you recall, but that was the summer that Chewy and Preckwinkle and a few others crafted an ordinance that was passed in September. They made county sanctuary, and then Rahm went a year later and made the city sanctuary. Long story short, they kept getting continuances, which confused me because it seemed to be pretty much of a slam dunk. But anyhow, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, this kid's brother comes up with $25,000 in cash, bonds him out, and he runs to Mexico, and he's down there driving a truck. And the FBI is at a loss at what to do. They got a Mexican authorities issue a warrant, but the warrant, for some odd reason, they won't act on the warrant. So that's the story.
Well,
and now we've got SB 31, and there's a bunch of us around the country that have become activists who've gone through this kind of thing. This is a very common issue with across the country, largely in California, Arizona. There's 3 or 4 cases here in Illinois. And we've become activists, and we formed an organization, advocates for victims of illegal alien crime. And our main focus right now is those of us that are in Illinois is to try to do something about SB 31. But it looks like that may be a lost cause.
Well, again, we are so sorry for your loss. It's just a horrific story. But this guy, Saul Chavez, he was arrested 2 years prior to fatally striking your brother for another drunk driving conviction. Why wasn't he deported then? Did you ever find out or ask that question?
Yeah. I talked to the people at the Chicago ICE. She's no longer there. I forgot her name now, but she told me that they were never notified. See, in those days, the law required the city police, county authorities to notify ICE, and they never did. So Chicago and Cook County apparently had an unofficial sanctuary policy, but then it became codified in 2011, as I mentioned earlier.
And you want to speak to Governor Rauner and other families that you've spoken with, want to speak to Governor Rauner before he makes his decision, apparently on Monday, with regards to the sanctuary state legislation, correct?
Yeah. We've got some sources. We reached out to Brett Baer, and Brett had him on TV 2 weeks ago. You guys might have seen, and Brett cornered him on it, and Rauner said, "Yeah, we'll meet anybody." And a friend of yours, I think he knows you, Jerry Bromley, ran into him down at the state fair, and he told Jerry, "Yeah, I'll meet with him." Then I got a call from a source. I can't tell her your name, but she said that what's it, Rasmussen, Christina, who I guess just got fired or something, told her that I was on Rauner's call list. This was last Monday, and I haven't heard a thing. Right. I haven't heard a thing. In fact, I've pretty much given up. I'm going golfing today.
Oh. Well, if you could talk to Governor Rauner, what would you want to tell him? What do you want to say to him?
Veto it. The dumbest bill that ever imaginable. It's going to make it a magnet for illegal aliens. They'll be coming here in droves, hiding out in God knows where, all over the state now. I mean, it's incredible. They don't want to, it's the dumbest. And California's next. We got people out there. That's probably going to be our next project. But Brown's certainly going to sign that bill.
There's a Illinois Business Immigration Coalition. They emailed me yesterday after we had a discussion with Lake County Sheriff Mark Curran about this, who's a supporter of the legislation. And there are a number of police chiefs and law enforcement officials that support the legislation, and including Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, of course, as well as business leaders and faith leaders. So that's a fact. They are supportive of that. They think it's reasonable. They think it will actually enhance public safety by encouraging people who are here illegally, which is a federal problem, but the state has to deal with the implications, to report crimes and otherwise act as, good citizens, quote unquote. How do you respond to those arguments?
Yeah, I follow them. They haven't really had a meeting in a while. They parade out this, what's his name, Rowe. He's not even a native Illinoisan. That organization was crafted in large part by, I forgot his name now. He used to be with ICIRR. That was deliberately set up to promote illegal immigration in the state for political reasons. It's no secret. I wouldn't. Have you ever heard Rose speak?
Yeah, I know.
I think you know where I'm going with.
Yeah,
I don't know where you're going.
Well, I mean, he's talking about Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights.
Yeah,
and
what's
that
the guy's
right.
name over there? Started all that.
Joshua Hoyt. Yeah, and Joshua Hoyt is a friend of mine. I know Josh, but I just disagree with him on this. Like Mark Kern is a friend, but just disagree with him on the sanctuary state. And it's rather jarring that Governor Rauner is poised to sign this. Here's the thing, too, Brian. The legislation, as it was originally conceived, has been significantly watered down in terms of the form that Senate Bill 31 has taken as it arrived on Governor Rauner's desk. But you still have this fundamental problem, and it goes to your story, which is why your brother's story, which is why it's so important. This refusal to honor a ICE detainer request. This is a huge thing, and this is in the legislation. And where they say, well, if they get a warrant, then of course we'll honor the warrant. But by not being cooperative at the local level with federal law enforcement, you're making them jump through an additional hoop, which is not, unconstitutional in any way if they made a request and you honored it. There's no constitutional issue there. You're making them jump through an unnecessary hoop. You're adding a layer of bureaucracy. You're also adding a layer of uncertainty because you could have a leftist judge on the bench say, well, no, I'm not issuing any warrants for this person or that person because I don't want to be pulled into this whole political discussion or because I'm on one side of it or because I'm on a particular side of it, I guess I would say. So, there are real consequences to this idea. Hey, all ICE has to do is go get a warrant and then we'll honor the warrant, as opposed to while taking the posture of we're prohibited from honoring a detainer request. If law enforcement is working together, you think you'd give them ICE the benefit of the doubt when they make a detainer request on somebody like the guy who killed your brother, right?
Yeah, well, see, if you go back to our case, it was a Sunday morning when the brother produced the money. Well, how are you going to get a federal warrant?
Yeah, there's a time issue, too.
If the 48-hour rule was applicable or enforced, and it wasn't because of Tony and Jesus, we would have gotten the warrant. But how are you going to get a warrant on a Sunday morning?
And now he's gone, right? He's fled the country?
He's in Mexico.
Oh, he's in Mexico.
He's driving a truck down there, and he's having a good time.
And what stops you from not going down there and just punching his lights out? I mean, God bless you for your restraint.
He's got a golf game.
What I did to relieve stress, I wrote a novel, and we caught him. It's called Death in Chicago, a Sanctuary City. We got him as fiction.
Death in Chicago is the name of the book?
The name of the book, Death in Chicago, a Sanctuary City. But I wanted to ask you, I asked your, what's his name, Keith,
yeah.
You guys saw page 8 on the trip. Rauner said yesterday, at the same time, Rauner also clouded his administration's response to a bill sought by immigration activists and many in the business community that would prohibit local law enforcement. So it's suggesting here that he still has not committed to this. And then it goes on to say that one of the people that he fired was the one that said that he's going to sign it. So,
Dan?
Is there any hope?
One has nothing to do with the other. But look, there's always hope. People can change their mind. I don't know. I don't know what the governor's thinking at any particular moment.
Well, one of our people will be on Fox and Friends in about 10 minutes, and he told me that he's going to appeal to Trump to call Rauner in about 10 minutes. So if he does it, it'll be amusing.
Yeah, or tweet at him or something. But one of the things is, and we've said that on the show, you call to the governor's office and weigh in on this because they do track, just like legislators do. They do track calls, and that has impact.
Hundreds have. We want to get face to face. That's it. We want to, and we were going to have people fly in. One guy was going to drive overnight from Virginia. He's an Illinois resident. He was going to come in. Another guy was going to come in from California.
Yeah.
And we got it downstaters. We were all going to come, but now it's too late.
But
if he calls,
yeah,
I'll take my phone with me on the golf course.
Yeah, take it with you.
Yeah, just stop at the halfway house and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about this though too. Just back to the legislation, because we had, as I said, Mark Curran on yesterday, Lake County Sheriff, in support of this. And one of the things I found interesting about what Mark had to say, and other advocates said, this doesn't change anything that law enforcement does. It doesn't. So if it doesn't change anything, then why are we doing it? We're just accepting their premise for a second. If it doesn't change anything, why are we doing it? Because, of course, it does change things. And we know the actual architects of the bill, who are pandering hack Pauls like Chris Welch, they absolutely intend for there to be something behind this to, pander to the Si Se Puede chanters and those that whip the vote for them and for the party, for the Democrat Party, come election time. So I just wanted, that's my opinion, but I wanted you to address this kind of, it doesn't change anything law enforcement does, which is why they're supportive of it.
Well, it changes a lot. It's just going to make, Illinois will be less safe. There's no question about it. It will be less safe. It will be a magnet for the criminal alien. If I'm a criminal alien, I'm coming here, and I'm going to go hide out in Pope County in southern Illinois, or I can go to Kerens County and Lake County, plenty of hideouts up there, Will County. You notice all of these sheriffs that signed off on it. I saw it in Capitol Facts. They are all in counties with heavy Hispanic populations.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Curran says what he says. It's real obvious. And my guy, Dart, he lives in my neighborhood. Ugh. Don't get me started.
Yeah, I agree with you on that sentiment. That sentiment says it all. Brian McCann, thanks so much for joining us. The book that you wrote, Death in Chicago, in tribute to your brother's memory as you're still pursuing justice with respect to his killer, and being a policy advocate with other families who have been victimized by persons in this country illegally.
It's called Advocates for Victims of Illegal Alien Crime. We got a website, aviac.us.
aviac.us.
aviac.us. Yeah, we went public 7 weeks ago in D.C. at the press club, so
okay,
we're going to be active.
All right, Brian.
We're losing a lot of battles right now, but hopefully down the road we'll win a few.
Well, again, our condolences to what happened to your brother, and we really appreciate your time joining us this morning.
Dan and Amy, thanks a million.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.
I'm sure his brother is proud of what he's doing, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made this